In November 2019, my boss cut my pay in half. Same work, same quality, but for no apparent reason, he just decided that I was worth less. I stared at the email in horror. My hands were shaking and tears welled up in my eyes, then spilled down my face. All my savings, all my dreams, all my plans, gone in an instant. I tried to push back to tell him it wasn't fair, but he shut me down. If you don't think I pay you well, then go start your own. Let me know if you're quitting, otherwise I'm done with this conversation. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind spiraled. With tears in my eyes, I watched video after video, searching for answers, desperate for a way out, until finally at 3 a.m, I took a leap and opened a Fiverr account. Since then, I've made over $100,000 from Fiverr alone. And in 2022, I landed a full-time job doing what I love and earning thousands of dollars per month. All because of that one email. How did that story make you feel? Did you root for me? Maybe you felt frustrated on my behalf. Or maybe it reminded you of a time someone undervalued you. Either way, you felt something. Now, imagine I had just said, I started freelancing in 2020 and I've made over $100,000. Which version makes you care more? It's the first one, right? That's the power of storytelling. And in this video, I'll show you why storytelling is so important, how to create stories that make people care, and the secret storytelling framework that both Hollywood and billion-dollar companies use to build cult followings. People don't buy products or services. They buy stories. They buy emotions. They buy feelings. When you're selling a service, storytelling helps potential clients see themselves in your journey. It builds trust and makes them believe that if you overcame your struggle, you can help them do the same. Think about it. Anyone who's ever had a terrible boss or been denied fair payment felt something when I shared my story. When I described tears streaming down my face, my hands shaking, you didn't just hear it, you felt it. Maybe you even remember the moment in your own life when something similar happened to you. If at that moment I said, I've been there, I can help you, wouldn't you immediately believe it? That's the power of storytelling. Our brains are wired to remember stories far better than facts. That's why memory champions use something called a mind palace. It's a technique where they visualize a familiar place like their childhood home and store information in different rooms. Instead of memorizing random numbers or facts, they turn them into vivid stories, making it impossible to forget. And that's exactly why storytelling works in business. When you weave your message into a story, your audience doesn't just hear it, they see it, they feel it, and most importantly, they remember it. That's how Simon Squib was able to blow up in an oversaturated business advice niche. He focused on stories by asking people, what's your dream? This video is the perfect example of this. It's a masterclass in storytelling. There's an emotional decision with real stakes. Will she stay stuck in a job she hates or take the leap and chase her dream? That's what makes you glued to your seats and remember Simon well after the video is done. But not all stories are the same. Some fall flat, while others create that loyal support and cult following that brings lasting results. To create a story that sticks with people, you need two things, and the second is where most people miss it. But first is a character that people care about. If your audience doesn't relate to or empathize with your main character, they won't be invested in the story. Sure, they might stay for the spectacle, but they won't remember it. Think about the best stories, whether it's in marketing, content creation, or movies, they all start with a character we relate to. Take Apple for example. When they first launched, they were a character. IBM was the faceless corporate giant, while Apple was the rebellious underdog fighting for the creatives, the visionaries, the misfits. People who saw themselves in that mold got emotionally invested, and that's how Apple created the cult-like following that it still have today. Or look at Nike's partnership with Michael Jordan. They weren't just saying, buy these sneakers. They built an entire underdog story around him. A kid who got cut from his high school basketball team who fought his way to greatness. When you buy Air Jordans, you're not just buying shoes, you're buying into the story of Michael Jordan. But storytelling isn't just for billion-dollar brands. It's why Ali Abdaal blew up on YouTube. He didn't just make productivity videos. He shared his personal story of juggling medical school on YouTube, burning out, and eventually finding a way to actually enjoy working hard. That journey made people trust him. They didn't just see a doctor giving advice, they saw someone who had been in their shoes and figured a way out. That's why he's now the most followed productivity influencer in the world and a New York Times bestseller. This same principle is why POV style videos and the I'm 42 years old, if you're 20 watch this videos are taking over YouTube right now. People are tired of the same regurgitated advice from gurus. They want real stories from real people. But having a strong character alone isn't enough. If you want people to stick around, you need to give them a reason to find out what happens next. And you do that using stakes that people care about. What happens if the character fails? Stakes don't have to be life or death. In fact, the reason most people are burnt out on superhero movies is because the stakes are too big. The world is always ending, and after a while, it just doesn't have any emotional impact anymore. If I've seen the world get destroyed and rebuilt 20 different times, what does it matter? What actually makes people care are personal relatable stakes, the ones that feel like they could happen to you. Something as simple as being stuck in a job you hate, losing your dream opportunities, never being able to afford the life you want. That's why my story was so relatable. Not being able to afford savings is something nearly everyone can relate to at some point in their lives. So if you want your story to hit hard, you need to make sure your audience can see themselves in the character and give them stakes to keep watching. Although stakes are great, you need to understand how to implement these stakes throughout the video in a way that keeps your viewers hooked. And you do that using a storytelling framework. There's a storytelling framework that I haven't seen anyone talk about on YouTube, but once you see it, you realize it's everywhere, from Hollywood movies to the best YouTube videos to billion-dollar brands. And that's because it mirrors real life. It's the Dan Harmon story circle, named after the creator of amazing series like Rick and Morty and Community. Here's the framework. Every great story starts with a character in a comfortable place, but they want something more. To get it, they step into an unknown territory, face struggles, learn lessons, and then they pay the ultimate price for change. They achieve their goal, but they are no longer the same person, so they return home transformed. Now, this isn't just a theory. It's how some of the biggest creators and brands have built their success. And the best part is that you can use the exact same framework to build a cult following for your business. My story follows the same pattern. At the start, I had a steady job as a writer, making decent money. I wasn't rich, but I was comfortable. Then everything changed. My boss cut my pay in half without warning, and then suddenly the stability I relied on was gone. I wanted financial security, I wanted control over my career, but getting there meant stepping into completely unfamiliar territory. I spent hours watching videos trying to figure out my next move. I doubted myself, I overthought, but at 3 a.m, after spiraling for hours, I finally took a leap of faith and opened a Fiverr account. That was my moment of transformation, and from there, everything changed. I started landing clients, built a business, and eventually made over $100,000 doing what I love. This is the exact storytelling structure that drives some of the biggest viral videos on YouTube. One of the most famous examples is Ryan Trahan's 1 penny challenge. The journey starts with a single penny, and his goal is to make it across America, but he has nothing to his name. He has to take risks, learn new ways to make money, and face real setbacks along the way. There are moments where he's exhausted, unsure if he will even make it, but those struggles are exactly what make people care. By the time he reaches his goal, the audience is just as invested in his success as he is. The reason his series exploded wasn't just because of the challenge itself, it was because it followed a powerful storytelling structure that kept people engaged every step of the way. This isn't something only creators can use. In fact, as a freelancer or service business owner, it's something you must do. Simon Squibb, Alex Omozi, Daniel Dalian, the reason all of these guys blew up is because they consistently shared their story. That's what made them stand out. You can have the best product or service in the world, but if no one cares, no one will buy from you. Storytelling is what makes people care. If you want to work with me to refine the story for your business, reach out to me through the first link in the description. And if you want to hear more about my story, watch this video next, and I'll see you there.